Hello, everybody, and welcome to How Would I Judge RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars 7? As the season has just come to the close by this time this video is coming out, I wanted to do a video of myself grading the season like I've done with some other seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race and see how what I think would happen, how would I judge things, and who would end up winning the season. So this first part of the video is being filmed actually on the Tuesday before the finale. And everything up until the 11th episode, the talent show, has already existed, is going to be included in this recording being done of it. And then after the finale comes out, I will make the rest of this video. And you'll kind of be hearing my very recently removed reactions from whatever actually happens in the finale to, the goings on of the season. So yeah, I think it's going to be a fun old time, and yeah, let's just get right into it. The rules to remember, as always, this season has to be as long as RuPaul's Drag Race All-Star 7 originally was, which is 12 episodes, 11 episodes of competition, and then the lip sync Lollapalooza finale. The performances in the challenges need to be based off of how well someone did. Usually, it could also be done on how people would predict they would do, but considering that there are no eliminations this season, that is not a point to talk about. The goal of this video is to act as if I'm the head judge and craft the season however I can imagine to make it as fun and eventful as possible, while also being fair with my judging of the season by combining my own personal tastes and what was shown to us on the show. If somebody does dead last in the challenge, I'm not just going to put them at the best at winning the challenge because I liked them a lot. That's just not a thing that I'm gonna do. If their new place is high and somebody, was in the top and I think they should be swapped, then I might do that if that's just genuinely my opinion of what should happen. But there's going to be no, I'm not just going to be this person should be in the top because I want them to be. No, we're not going to do that. So let me get some context on how this season is going to work. So the way that it worked out originally is that every single challenge, each contestant had the opportunity to be in the top 2, which gave them a star. But if they were blocked for the week, then they could not get a star. And then the 2 kind of twist weeks was that between episodes, I believe 5 and 6, the top 2 of episode 5 got to give 2 people an extra star in episode 6, and the final episode, which is the talent show, the winners of the challenge will get 3 stars. Now, I'm going to be doing something a bit differently. I wish I fucking remembered what comment this was posted on, or even what video it was posted on, but the kind of twist that's going to be going on with this season is going to be different, and it's going to be more overarching. We're obviously still having the main twist of, if you're in the top 2, you get a star, and if you're blocked, you don't get the stars that you would get. But there are going to be 4 challenges this season that are predetermined to grant 2 stars to the contestants, and every single other challenge will give 1. And this would be disclosed to the contestants at the beginning of the season, that some challenges will give 1 star and more important challenges will give 2 stars if you win them. So those challenges are going to be the Snatch Game, the Ball Challenge, the Girl Groups, and the Talent Show. I think it should be these 4 challenges because these 4 challenges encompass kind of every single thing that Drag Race really tests you on. Snatch Game tests you on the comedy and improv. The Ball tests you on your design and your ability to create your own garment. And the Girl Groups Challenge tests you on your dancing and your singing and your performing abilities. And the talent show can test you on literally whatever your strength is. It can be whatever you want it to be. So I think those 4 challenges really are the perfect challenges to give multiple stars to. And I think it makes sense because those are the important challenges. People care if you win the Snatch Game. nobody really cares as much if you win, you know, the like Santa School for Girls acting challenge. You know what I mean? Obviously they do care, like you still won it, but like Snatch Game and the ball and the girl groups and the talent show are the most notable challenges, and they have a reason they're the most notable because they all test a bunch of different things and they're very entertaining and important. So that's the way that this is going to be set up. Before I get into placements, for ease of, you know, of reading the slides, all the contestants are within the groups, okay, you know, like the two contestants place high and the four that place safe for the week. They're all listed alphabetically within those placements. That's not my opinion on where they should be placed. They're just all done alphabetically, so as to, you know, be consistent with it, because, you know, it would be weird to try and like rank all 8. I didn't want to do that. And the people with the red border, they are the person that is getting blocked in that episode. So let's get into episode 1, which is the, you know, early season performance challenge. Most of the judging of this episode is exactly the same as it was originally. The only change is that I swapped Trinity the Tuck and Jinx Monsoon's placements. I thought Jinx did a better job than Trinity. There were parts where, they even mentioned this in the episode, where it's like, it seems like Trinity didn't even know the words that she wrote. And while she performed very well, Jinx's verse was just so incredible. And I think she definitely deserved to place high this week. So Shay is still going to win against Monet as originally, lip syncing to Old MacDonald, aka I think my favorite lip sync. Maybe not my favorite lip sync of all time on Drag Race, but top 5 for sure. God, is it so fucking good? Love it, love it, love it. But yeah, so Shay's gonna win. Monet's in the top 2. They're both gonna get a star. And yeah, pretty almost exactly the same as original. They both have 1 star. Moving on to episode 2. Episode 2 is the Snatch Game episode, and the judging for this episode is exactly the same as originally. Jinx Monsoon and Trinity the Tuck are the top 2 for the week. Jinx Monsoon wins the lip sync. Monet and Roger are high, and everybody else is safe. Since this is a Snatch Game episode, Jinx wins 2 stars, and Shay and Monet still have 1 star. Episode 3 was the ball challenge of the season. Originally, Shay was placed high this episode. I decided to swap the Vivian and Shay. I just thought the Vivian did a little bit better. I don't think Shay did bad, but I think I would have chosen the Vivian as the top, or as the high placement instead of Shay. Our top 2 is exactly the same. Jed Essence Hall and Trinity the Tuck are going to lip sync. Jada is going to win as she did originally. And Jinx Monsoon will be blocked. So now Jinx, Trinity, and Jada all have 2 stars. Shay and Monet have 1 star. Episode 4 is the Fairy Tale Justice Acting Challenge. There was a lot of discourse online around the placements in this episode. The way that I decided to go about it is, originally Raja placed high for her performance as like the grandmother figure, but I didn't gag over it. It was just fine to me. I preferred Jada's performance out of the rest of the 5, for being entirely honest. And Jada did not do bad in this episode at all either. So I feel justified in putting her as high for this episode. Along with Evie Oddly, who was there originally. But the Vivian and Jinx are in the top for the week as they both were originally. The Vivian is going to win the lip sync as she also did originally. And Monet is going to be blocked as was originally. Pretty similar episode as the rest of all kind of been so far. There's going to be some variation coming up, I swear. So now Jinx, Jada, and Trinity all have 2 stars, while the Vivian, Monet, and Shay all have 1 star. Episode 5 is the Draguation Speeches episode. And I believe this episode I judged exactly the same as was originally. Jinx and Raja are in the top 2 for the week. Jinx wins the lip sync and decides to block the Vivian. This means that Jinx now has 3 stars. Raja has 1, along with Monet and Shay, and the Vivian. And Jada and Trinity have 2, which leaves Evie having the only person left with 0 stars, as was originally seen after this episode. Episode 6, we do have a bit of a shift. This is the girl groups challenge episode. Evie Oddly is going to be the top as she was originally, but I thought it would have made a bit more sense to kind of choose the best person from each group to be in the top. And also a lot of the people's opinions on the judging of this challenge was very, all over the place. I do think Evie did incredibly well in this challenge, and I would have put her in the top if I was judging it. I also think I would have put Shea Coulee in the top for this challenge. She did a great job here. The Vivian, who was originally the top, also did a good job, but I thought Shea just did slightly better. And also, realistically, even if I did put the Vivian in the top, she still would have been blocked for this challenge, so it doesn't really matter. I might do an alternate scenario for if the Vivian wins this challenge and Shea's not on the top, because this is the one decision that I made that I could change the most. If, other things, kind of happen during the season, which I'll get to later. But yeah, I decided to put Shea in the top here. The Vivian and Monet were both placed high, and Jada, Jinx, Trinity, and Raja all placed safe. Now, this is the first week of the season where the winner is somebody different than who actually won. Originally, the Vivian was the winner for the week, but this week it is Evie Oddly. And I did put Evie Oddly as winning the lip sync. I really don't know how Shea would do to the song. I think she could do a very good job. I mean, it does kind of give, in some essence, similarity to like Old MacDonald. Obviously, it doesn't, but she can. We know Shea can do a folksier song, and like a more classic kind of like Old MacDonald kind of situation. I don't even know what word I'm trying to think of, but you know what I mean. But I decided to give the win to Evie here just because this is really kind of Evie's week to shine. And I kind of think they would both block Jinx here, as Jinx has 3 challenge wins up to this point. So in my opinion, it just kind of makes the most sense. You could swap them, but it really doesn't matter. So yeah, Jinx is going to be blocked here because at this point she is the most threatening person here. And even if Evie decided to block really anybody else that I think she would feasibly block, it wouldn't change any of the placements once we get to the end of the season of like who makes it further, as far as I can remember. So yeah, that's the way I decided to put it. Now at this point, Jinx has 3 stars along with Shea now having 3 stars. Jada has 2 stars along with Trinity and Evie. And Raja, the Vivian, and Monet all have 1 star. Episode 7 is our design challenge where they have to recreate like a RuPaul look. I thought this challenge was incredibly difficult to judge, so I just left the placements the exact same because this is like a lot of them did super duper well with this challenge. Like honestly, this is gonna sound mean, feasibly anybody but Jinx could have placed higher, maybe even won for this challenge. I love Jinx. Jinx is my favorite of the season, but she did the worst in this challenge. But everybody else did very similarly, so it was very difficult. So I just decided to keep it the same because I also think that the majority of people agree that the top 4 for this challenge was correct, so I just decided to leave it. Trinity is going to win against Jada in this lip sync, as was seen originally. Monet and Shea are high, and everyone else is safe. Trinity is going to block Evie Oddly here, is what I put. I put Trinity as blocking Evie because the 3 people who have not been blocked yet at this point were Jada, Raja, and Evie. And Evie has the most stars out of any of them and just won this past week's challenge. So I think that she would probably block Evie. That could be wrong, but when you're getting into these situations with like all-star seasons and like blocking and who they're voting for, it gets a bit iffy. So I just know that I tried my best. But yeah, I think she would block Evie, which means that Trinity, Jada, Shea, and Jinx all have 3 stars. Evie has 2 stars, and Monet, the Vivian, and Raja all have 1 star. So we get kind of a different storyline here where instead of Shay and Monet being the ones to fall into the background, not getting, the stars while everyone else just kind of overpasses them, we almost kind of get this split of like we have 4 people who are like all at 3 stars, and then the other 4 are just kind of down below. And then I think the storyline here kind of forms into like who is going to rise from the ashes out of this bottom 4 to get a top 4 placement, and kind of edited to be like, is it going to be Raja? Is it going to be Monet? Who knows? Who is it going to be? We're going to find out in just a second. Episode 8 is the Santa School for Girls acting challenge. I kept the top 2 placements of this challenge. I do think they were correct. Raja and the Vivian are going to win. They are going to do their lip sync to Super Freak, and Raja is going to win. I put Monet and Jada as placing high for this episode. I believe Trinity originally technically placed high over Monet, which was crazy to me. Monet did a great job in this challenge. And I very nearly took Jada out of the high placement and gave it to Jinx. But I think at this point in the season, I don't understand why Trinity was on the top at all. I didn't find her character that funny. But in terms of Jada and Jinx, I do think they were pretty similar in the quality of their characters. And I think with the role that Jada got, which was pretty much, I would say, the least of a role out of pretty much everybody, I do think she did a lot of good with it. So I decided to keep her high for that reason. But in this scenario, I do think that Raja blocks Jada because Jada has 3 stars, and Jada is, besides Raja herself, the only person who has not been blocked yet at this point. Which it seemed like Raja was pretty playing fair with the blocks because she blocked Evie because, she hadn't been blocked yet and she just won. So I think it makes sense to do that. So yeah, at this point now, Jinx, Shay, Jada, and Trinity still have 3 stars. Evie, the Vivian, and Raja all have 2, and Monet is now the person that's stuck at the bottom with 1 star instead of Shea Coulee. But next episode, that is going to change. Episode 9 is the Advertise event challenge, the TikTok dance situation, whatever. This is also a weird challenge to try and judge, but I pretty much agreed with the placements. Monet and Jinx are going to be in the top 2, and they're going to do their spoken word performance, which was so good. I loved it. Monet is going to win as she did originally. Shay and Evie are going to place high, and everyone else is going to place safe. As Raja is the last person that has not been blocked yet at this point, she is going to be blocked by Monet, like how Monet did originally. And as was done originally, this is going to be the last block of the season. I would hate to be blocked on the final episode, and I knew I couldn't score points. So since this block is applying to episode 10, there's going to be no block in episode 10, and then obviously none in episode 11, as was done originally. Now, Jinx has 4 stars, Shay, Jada, and Trinity have 3, while Evie, the Vivian, Raja, and Monet all have 2. Episode 10 was the Roast Challenge. I kept the top 2 the same, Jinx and Trinity, and Jinx is going to win the lip sync as she did originally. I think originally it was Monet placed high over Raja, but I think Raja did a little bit better, if I'm gonna be honest. I really liked Raja's performance in this. I think if she wasn't high, she should have been, but my 2 high placements are Trinity and Raja for this. And then Jada, Shay, Monet, and Evie are just all safe for the episode. Going into our penultimate episode, Jinx is now clear in the lead with 5 stars. Trinity is right behind with 4. Shay and Jada still currently in that top 4 placement with 3. And Evie, Vivian, Raja, and Monet all have 2. And so this is kind of the boiling point for the fact that those 4, while a few episodes ago they were still clear, they were kind of clear on the bottom, they're now all still tied for this 5th through 8th placement. And this, all heads up in the final episode to see which of the four will make it out of there and make it to, the final four of the season. And if you've seen the season, then you know the answer to this question. It's Monet Exchange, obviously. She did the absolute best in the talent show by far out of everybody. Absolutely destroyed it. Um, her and Cher are going to be the top as was originally, but Monet's going to win the lip sync. I thought Monet did a much better job in the lip sync. Okay, actually, much better is a bit of a stretch, but I do think she did better. And also, I really think it kind of just flips it on the head from where, Shea won the first lip sync of the season against Monet, but in the last one before the finale, Monet wins it against Shea. I think that's storytelling that they could have really very easily done on the season, but they just didn't. So, yeah, that's what's going to happen here. Raja and Evie are still going to place high, and everyone else is going to place safe. And since the talent show gives out 2 stars, we now get to our final star counts before the finale. So right at the end, Monet overpasses Jada and makes it into the finale with 4 stars, along with Trinity. And in this scenario, Jinx and Shea are both tied with 5 stars, and we don't get this kind of storyline feeling of Shea just being, like overwhelmingly given these points at the very end of the season. Because there are multiple challenges that Shea could have very easily won that they just didn't give her. And they really it's so sad that they kind of fucked her over by having these 3 stars at the end that they, gave to her, which she did do. That she did was in the top 2 of the challenge. She absolutely deserved to be, in the top 2 for the talent show episode. But the way that it was handled really just kind of fucked with Shea. So perception surrounding the season, and I don't think that was fair to her at all. But in this scenario, she would have been tied going into that final episode anyway, as being part of the top, so I think it makes more sense. And then we have, Raja, the Vivian, and Evie's all at 2 stars. And Jada sadly just, not making the finale. And we end up with the exact same, top 4 and bottom 4 as we did originally, which I didn't necessarily expect to happen. I thought maybe Jada or the Vivian might have been in the top. I wasn't thinking Raja and Evie are going to be the top. No offense, but there weren't enough challenges that I feel like they could have won. I've seen a lot of people talk online, Raja should have won this challenge and this challenge and this challenge. I kind of just disagree. I think Raja's placements were pretty solid throughout the season. I would have given her maybe a couple more high placements that she didn't get originally, but I really thought her placements were pretty fair. So if you vehemently disagree, then I'm sorry, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, this is all that is filmed before the finale is airing. So cut to me in 3 days, where we see what the hell happens with the finale and how that affects this rating of the season. Okay, here I am reporting after having watched the finale episode and making the slides and kind of getting a few hours to get kind of my thoughts settled on it and everything. I gotta say, this was a very fun finale. I liked that they, really highlighted all of the queens and their accomplishments throughout their Drag Race tenures, as well as just the impact that they have on people out there, with their image and their popularity. I think that was really great. I really loved all those tender moments. And yeah, solid finale all around. Very happy with the winner. But let us actually get into how this season's, I guess, finale would go. So as you can see here, we have our top 4 on the left and our 4 competing in the She Done Already Done Had Hers' tournament on the right. So let's start with the tournament on the right. So considering that every single person is the same in the tournament, the matchups are going to be the same. In the lip sync between the Vivian and Evie, I do think Evie won, as was done originally. And I also think Raja won her lip sync against Jada for sure. But really the big change I would make here is I think Evie won that lip sync against Raja. I really do. I thought the wig reveal was very fun because I genuinely like when you at this point in like as a Drag Race viewer at this point, if you're gonna do like a wig reveal, it's got to be something that the audience is not expecting, and there's got to be some element to it when you take the wig off that is not anticipated, you know? So when that wig fell off her head, I was like, she's got to be, she has something planned, right? I was just utterly confused, and then she took off the cap, and then there's just like a bright orange wig just like poofed up. I was like, oh, that bitch. Oh, okay. And I thought she emoted the song pretty well, and I do think that Raja was, I guess, more the element of the actual, like, essence of the song the whole time. I understand that. But I kind of think Evie did better, and I would have given the win to Evie. Um, and especially as Evie was the only contestant in the actual show to not win a lip sync this season, I think this would have been a, or well, actually, I guess she did win a lip sync in the finale. She did win one. But as she wasn't really, she was the only one to really not block. Well, yeah, she was the only one to not block anybody during the season, and kind of get that power of winning a lip sync during the actual course of the season. I do think it would have made more sense to give that win to Evie here, and I'm also going to give that win to Evie in this fantasy as well. Our top four is the same as well, so we have the same pairings going against each other. It is pretty obvious that some decisions during the Slot Cruiser were made to favor Jinx, and I completely acknowledge that. But I also think that based off of what we were shown with the lip sync between Shea Coulee and Jinx Monsoon to Judas, like based off of what we were shown, I think Jinx did better. I mean, like obviously, there's a very good chance there are elements of Shay's. I'm not saying it's an absolute certainty that Shay did amazing and Jinx did terribly. I'm not saying that Jinx obviously won and Shay did terribly, but like bets are that the elements of Shay's that they cut out were probably elements that made her match up against Jinx either more favorable or just like absolutely exceeding. But like we don't know what they are. They couldn't really hide that edit hide that with the edit with Monet's lip sync against Jinx, which I'll get to later. But I think, I mean, based off of what we were shown, Jinx won that lip sync. Not gonna lie, I preferred her lip sync based off of what we saw. So I guess Jinx wins it, which I mean is kind of what I wanted. I wanted Jinx to win the season, but like if you like if the producers really want somebody to win, they should just format the finale to make it so that that person would, most likely win. Like, I mean, like we'd seen Jinx win two lip syncs against Trinity this season. You could very easily rig that wheel spin to make Trinity go against Jinx to Judas, and Jinx could probably have a better showing there, maybe. I say probably that I say maybe, but I mean, statistically she would. So, that's just, I guess that's just kind of how I feel about that. And then the other lip sync, I think Trinity did better. I did put her as eliminated here because I do think that the top two kind of throughout the season about like who did the best would be Jinx and Monet. And so if you're going based off that criteria of like throughout the season and this lip sync, it would be Monet. But if you're just looking at that lip sync, I think Trinity did better, which was very unexpected, but I do think she did. But so those two could very easily be swapped in this. But I do think that Jinx pretty much wins the season no matter what. In most seasons of Drag Race, the finale, like the final lip sync of the season does not matter in the slightest. Like I can really only think of one finale where the final lip sync actually mattered in determining the winner, that being the Drag Race UK Season 3 finale. Okay, I think probably RuPaul would have crowned Crystal Versace anyway, but I do think Crystal by far did the best in that final lip sync. And after that lip sync, I was like, oh, okay, actually, I think Crystal might win this. I was thinking Ella Day throughout the whole finale. Then after the lip sync, I was like, Ella didn't do that great. Crystal could actually very easily win this, and so could Kitty. So, usually it doesn't really matter. So, I think it would have just been better to kind of show us almost Jinx's kind of lacklusterness in the lip sync, maybe. And then, hit us back with, Jinx has been dominating this whole season, which she has, and I think she definitely deserves her win as the most dominant competitor of the season. It's interesting how this kind of discourse has panned out today, because usually when the most dominant person in the season, when they, mess up the Lollapalooza or, the little lip sync smackdown at the end of the season, people get mad because, like, oh, they're the best competitor, they should have won, like with Rosé, for example. But then when Jinx did it, people are like, Jinx sucked ass. Like, I don't know, pick and choose your battles. Just be happy with the winner. Or not, if you don't have to be happy, but at least tolerate them and not send them hate online. Or just post your spew hate in any comment section, for fuck's sake. This has become a lot more darker than I thought. Oh well. But yeah, so that's what I put for the finale. Earlier in the video I mentioned taking Vivian out of the top 2 for the Girl Groups Challenge and putting Shea Coulee, and that being a bit of a scenario I'd like to explore. So I'm going to quickly talk about that real quick. And so essentially, if Vivian wins that, she doesn't gain any points, but Shea loses 2 of her stars, which means that at the final episode, we have Jinx still in the finale with 5 stars, Trinity with 4, Monet with 4, and Shea and Jada tied with 3 stars apiece. Now, as what we saw in the actual show, what would happen is that Jinx would choose between Shea or Jada, who would join the final 4 with them. And because Jinx gave a star to Jada in one of the episodes of the season, I think Jinx would choose Jada to be in the top 4 over Shea. So in that scenario, Jada would replace Shea's spot in the top 4. But once we get to that scenario, I don't think anything changes, because then we have Jinx versus Jada and Judas, and I still think the win probably ends up going to Jinx, no matter how well she does. And just based off of, like, I think Jada could do much better than Shea, but I also think Jada could do just as well as Shea or worse. So it's really a big toss-up for that. So frankly, I don't know what the scenario is with that. I guess if Jada moves on, then Monet wins the season. I think no matter what scenario, I think it's obviously Jinx or Monet win the season, and I think that's well deserved, no matter who it goes to. And as always, here are the track records for the season. I ranked them just on the little Google Sheets based off of the PPE scores. The way I graded it was you get 3 points for safe, 4 for high, 4.5 for the top 2, and 5 for the win. That's what I do. That's what I did with my Draguation Game show seasons, and that's kind of how I interpret top 2s and wins to be in episodes. Disagree, sorry about it, but that's how I do it. Each challenge that awards 2 stars is in the darker color at the top, and each week where a contestant gets blocked is marked with a red outline. So, for example, Jinx Monsoon was blocked during the ball challenge, which is why it's listed on there, which means that she didn't, get the points for the improv challenge the week after. So based off of these track records in my kind of fantasy, Jinx Monsoon does have the best track record at the end, which means she is, I guess, technically most deserving to win the season, even though most deserving is a very loaded term. But what I said earlier, Jinx Monsoon or Monet X Change should win the season, still holds up. They have the best track records by far. And actually, Trinity the Tuck and Shea Coulee do not make the top 4 based off of track records alone. Raja and the Vivian do. But they don't get the stars to get there, so sadly they don't make it there. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and comment if you wish, and subscribe if you feel like it. I plan on making many more of these videos in the near future, so please stick around for those. So yeah, I love you all, and as always, take care. Goodbye.